Hi, it's Michael Cooper. I'm with the Private to IPO Partnership Network, and we are taking a look at and listening to CEOs who are leading their companies from the private sphere to an exit strategy. These are companies that are top-notch, gold standard in their industries, and know what it takes to grow their company to a successful exit. And now we'd like to welcome Ted Kucklick, who is the CEO and founder of Cannuflow. Ted and his company have developed a very strong advisory team and management team around their company Cannuflow, which is addressing markets in the sports medicine area with orthoscopy disposable products that help clear up problems and improve the visual and flow control within surgeries around shoulders, hips, knee, joints that are being worked on a continuous basis. Something to the order of 15 million of these operations occur around the world each year. The market is very large. It is fraught with complications and requires new values to be brought into the procedures. Cannuflow has been very focused on addressing the value equations that are top of mind for these large hospital networks around the U.S. and the rest of the world. So now let's welcome Ted Kucklick, CEO of Cannuflow. Good afternoon, Ted, and welcome. We'd like to speak about Cannuflow. You have developed a well-rounded line of products that help patients with joint problems, shoulders, elbows, knees, hips. And you've really approached the development of your devices from a business perspective, bringing down cost, simplifying the procedures, and removing the major problem in and around joint inflammation during these procedures. Can you tell us how you moved into this product line, where you are now, and where you're looking to take the company?
Okay. One of the things that we have done that's very different from anybody else's approach, especially in the larger companies, is that every other competitor is focused on cost, which is taking basically an undifferentiated or a generic product and making it cheaper. And one of the things about that is that the thing that is coming up, or actually it's already arrived, is value-based purchasing. And this is something where value-based purchasing, bundling, and the end of fee-for-service are scheduled to be implemented by 2020. And this is where the federal government, through CMS, Center for Medicaid Services, is demanding from hospitals that they generate value across the continuum of care, and not just where, for instance, if a complication happens, you get paid to do the first procedure where the complication happens, then you get paid again to fix the problem. This is something that the federal government is weeding out. And this is something that neither the healthcare community or the hospital organizations have really been prepared for. So this is something where we have been approaching this problem actually for some time now, because our product focus has been surgical efficiency and patient protection, which is the elimination of expensive, unnecessary complications and the reduction of waste and inefficiency during a procedure. And we do it with the same inexpensive devices that surgeons use in every procedure already. Something about this is that the major companies have not been ready for this. Many of them, if you talk to them, they're still stuck in the old cost-cutting mode of coming to a customer with an undifferentiated product, but just at a cheaper price. And we've probably been at least 5 years ahead of the curve. We've been told this by some people in the orthopedic, some of the larger companies, that we've been at least 5 years ahead of the curve on this, and that we've really pioneered this field in sports medicine. So one of the problems that if you're that far ahead, it's sometimes hard to explain it to people. But what's happened is that with the new value-based purchasing mandates, not only has it become easy to explain, it's also become very easy to quantify.
So you've taken this approach, which is a very logical approach, and you've identified a market area that can really benefit from what you've developed in your medical devices in the arthroscopy market.
The arthroscopic market. Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things is the people who studied this, and there's been a professor from Harvard who's looked into this, and the formula for value has been boiled down to outcomes over costs. And one of the things about that, if you actually start to run the numbers on what outcomes over cost really means to drive a value score, that cost cutting in the numerator of that formula hits very hard limits very fast. Because if you've got an honestly priced product, you can only discount about 40% before you have an unsustainable business. If you have a product that has a typical 70% gross margin, if you discount more than 40%, you just don't have a business anymore. With outcomes on the outcomes which are on the numerator side, which is O over C, these outcomes are actually almost unlimited, and they're 10 times more efficient at driving a high value score than just cost cutting alone. So this is something that we focused on. We focused on specific areas of how much time do our products save, with OR time costing about $6 a minute. Any minute that you save adds up very quickly. Also, what waste does it prevent? For instance, if you save a bag of saline can cost $25. If you save one of those, and if you have a $25 product, you've already paid for that product. The other thing is that sometimes with inefficiency, you have clunky workarounds for these inefficiencies that have other products that make up for the inefficiencies. But if you get rid of the root inefficiency, you can eliminate that product. For example, in knee surgery, to control bleeding in the knee, to get clarity, a lot of times the surgeon will use a tourniquet on the leg, and which is a workaround for bad fluid flow. So we have fluid flow that's so much more efficient than the standard that you have clarity in a knee at all times, and you don't need the tourniquet. That's a $35 item that you can get rid of, plus all of the fiddle factor with having to set it up and monitor it. Then the biggest thing is complications. There are an entire host of complications in almost every procedure. And we focused on arthroscopy, but this is probably a methodology that can be brought out to other fields as well. But if you can identify and eliminate complications, there's a huge amount of traction that you can get there. One example of this is Stryker bought a company called Patient Safety Technologies. They didn't make a product that's either it's not a therapeutic product, it's not a diagnostic product. It was a sponge counter. It counts back sponges that are used in general surgery, because if you leave one of those behind, that problem is a $75,000 problem if it happens. It only happens about once in 5,000 times, but when it does happen, it's a giant headache. So that was a company that, just based on safety alone, eliminating one preventable complication, that company was bought by Stryker for $120 million. So this is something that people are beginning to wake up to. So this is what makes Cannuflow such a compelling investment for somebody that's interested in being in this space, because we've been working in this We have a very substantial IP portfolio.
41 patents
proven
and
products.
patent pendings?
And we're selling in 10 countries around the world. So this is something that we've pioneered this field, and we have a great deal of value that we've built.
And when you say that you are selling your devices around the world, you are selling into the hospital market, correct?
Correct.
Can you walk us through that process a little bit? How you enter a hospital market, who you speak to, what the sales cycle is like for your devices?
This is one of the things that makes the whole value purchasing thing so much more powerful than the traditional way of selling medical devices. Because if you go to a surgeon and you say, I have something that will fix a problem that happens 1 in 5,000 times, that surgeon will say, I don't do 5,000 cases in 20 years, which means I'll see that once in 20 years, and if it ever happens, I don't have to pay for it anyway.
And it's going to happen to somebody else. It's not going to happen to me.
Go ahead.
I was just saying the doctor is going to say that problem is going to happen to somebody else. It's certainly not going to happen to me.
Right. It won't happen to me, and if it does happen to me, I don't have to pay for it anyway. If you go to a hospital system, and we're going through a rapid consolidation of hospitals in the United States, from 2005 to 2020, the number that I heard was we're going from about 5,000 hospitals to about 500 hospital systems.
In the U.S.
So much more of this risk of complications is captured within one system. So if you have something that solves a problem that happens 1 in 5,000 times, and if you have a hospital system that does 20,000 cases, they're going to see that problem regularly 4 times a year.
I see, yes.
And it's going to cost them about $300,000 within their system. They're going to be very motivated to get rid of that problem, especially with the federal government breathing down their neck and penalizing them if they have that problem.
So when you are selling into the hospital system, the system is a more logical buyer of your solutions than an individual standalone hospital.
Well, the way medical products have to be sold is you have to sell to the individual surgeons, because without their buy-in and without them specifying your product, there's nobody to champion your product within the system. So, but what happens is also that you have to work from two sides. You have to work from the selling it to the doctors, and then you have to sell it to the hospital system itself through their value analysis committees. And most people look at value analysis committees as the enemy, because these are the people, they call them the sales prevention department. But I think that's a wrong way to look at things. I think the thing is that the hospital systems and the value analysis people and the hospital administration, those are your customers. You have to understand what they want and what they need and give them a solution rather than trying to shove on them what you've always sold them, what you've always tried to sell. So one of the things that we've come up with is a very objective and simple way to do value scoring, so that you can take any medical device and that you can score it according to objective criteria, where it's the cost of the product, it's the discounting, it's how much time it saves, waste it prevents, what other devices are eliminated, what complications are prevented. Put all that together into the V equals OC formula that's already been put out there as the standard. You get an objective value score. And this is something where our products are absolutely unique in the marketplace, because a standard cannula that costs $35, for example, if you discount that 50%, that gives you a value score of 2. If you have a cannula that is $35 and saves $35 worth of complications, that's the same value score of 2. But the thing is that we do much, much more than that. We save from 5 times to 9 times to 11 times the cost of our devices. We're driving value scores up into the 10 and 15 numbers, which is something that no product on the market in our category does. There's nobody that has anything even remotely like what we have.
And
this is something that, with this story, we have been getting traction further up the hospital administration food chain than ever. This is something that resonates very quickly with hospital administrations, which means that this is a concept that I think that we've uncovered. I think other people can utilize this, but this is something that you can take a medical device company that is based around preventing complications, driving efficiency, and it can scale very quickly.
It sounds like a formula not unlike some companies go into major customers and set up the RFP to help the customer think about how to buy the product. You are doing a lot of the heavy lifting on the thinking process on what they should be focusing on in the value equation to help them zero in on the type of product. And then I'm assuming that leads them to judge your product in the right light.
Yes, this is something where the person who came up with this V equals OC formula, I believe, was Professor Porter at Harvard, which
Michael
is
Porter.
the guy who's known for the Porter's Five Forces, which is taught, I think, in almost every business school.
Yes.
And everybody uses these five forces, or four forces or five forces to evaluate, to look for opportunities in a market. And he's the one that's now promoting this idea of V equals OC, like value equals outcomes over cost.
Okay.
And this is something that's not just in the United States. This is something that's around the world, because this is something that's the most integrated healthcare system that you can have is a nationalized system, which is a nationalized single-payer system. If you think about like the Kaiser system in the United States, they are both payer and provider. They are a private single-payer system. And the thing is that if you have like countries like Denmark and Spain and so on, and some of these other countries have these integrated single-payer healthcare systems, so that they know that any time that there's a complication, anytime there's an extra cost, there is no road to kick the can down. They eat the whole thing. And so I've been showing this to people, to doctors that work in these national healthcare systems, and they're getting very excited about what we've done, because they whenever they take a new product to their hospital, they will always be asked, okay, how is this cheaper than what we're already using? And if you can show that it's not only cheaper, but you can save multiples of what you're already spending, that's something that's very attractive to these single-payer systems.
Absolutely. So you have been developing and selling your arthroscopy products into the market for several years now. And they are a one-use product, correct?
Right, so, yeah, single-use devices.
So you get a recurring revenue stream out of that.
Absolutely correct.
Where are you going on expanding that product line, or is it a strategy right now of just increasing the market exposure and increasing the sales reps and distributors to open new markets for you for that well-rounded product line?
It's really all of the above. We are right now. We have people coming to us from around the world who discover our products and are coming to us to sell our products in markets in the U.S. and around the world. We sell right now. We sell in Europe. We sell in South America. For instance, one of our biggest customers is in Brazil. We have major hospital systems in the United States, like Stanford, that use our products. And there's really three pieces to what we're doing from a technological point of view. The first layer is the products we already have, the cannula products that we have right now. And we're looking for financing to do the product extensions that our customers are asking for right now. The other thing is that we've identified, and I'm not going to go obviously into a lot of detail about this. This is something that if there's an interested investor, I'd be happy to, with an NDA in place, explain this to them further. But there is a very fast-growing part of arthroscopy in sports medicine, which is hip arthroscopy. There is a crucial complication that is happening right now that's very, very expensive to fix. And we have a definitive solution for this. And this is something that there's some things that go along with our solution that can really disrupt, I believe, there's a segment of the arthroscopic instrument market that's worth probably about $1 billion, that I think that we have something that will disrupt that market. And anybody that would like to discuss that under an NDA, I'd be happy to give them more details.
And that's within your patent portfolio.
We have 53 patents, and we patent around the world. We have a very deep and broad patent portfolio, and one of the things that we're looking for is capital to productize what we have, and also that we have potential opportunities to assert our IP portfolio in other markets as well.
And just to let our listeners understand, there's been real market acceptance to your products. You've sold into, 130 different customers around the world?
We have 130 or more regular hospital or surgery center customers.
Great.
And this is in the United States, Brazil, South Africa, Singapore, Spain. We just picked up distribution in United Arab Emirates and the MENA market. So this is something that there's a huge amount of potential here, and we're actively looking for the right investment partner that sees the same vision that we do to really grow this thing and turn it into, as I said, we have something that I think really revolutionizes the arthroscopy market in a very fundamental way.
And just on your background, this is not the first time that you've started and built up a successful company. You've done this before.
Well, I've worked with a number of startup companies. One of the companies I worked with a number of years ago was a company called Rita Medical, and I worked with on a radiofrequency ablation device for treating liver tumors, which is still the product I worked on there is still the world standard for doing this type of tumor ablation. I worked with Dr. Tom Fogarty on two of his companies, one for sleep apnea, one for a vascular sealing device. The Rita Medical Company, they went public. The device for vascular sealing was acquired by Microlight and Pentax. So there's been a number of companies I've worked with before that have either gone public or been acquired. And then this is the company that I've founded to work in the orthopedic space, because this is something that there was an initial product that we had that was designed by a very skilled orthopedic PA with a lot of experience. And when I saw it, it was something that occurred to me that it really represented a new product category and a new way of thinking within arthroscopy. Mm-hmm. And what we've been doing is we've been building on that ever since. And so we started out the company with one product, and now we have 14 products. And we have the patent portfolio we have the customer base we have the traction that we're getting at the top levels of the hospital systems. So this is something that
and you've built an outstanding team.
When you're looking for investment, you don't want to put in gasoline to start an engine.
Right.
You want to put gasoline on a fire that's already burning.
That's
right. We got something that's already burning.
And do you want to talk about a couple of the people that you've brought onto your team? You have a first-rate management team and advisory team around the company.
Yeah, some of the people that we have in the company are people that are former CEOs of publicly traded companies as advisors. We have two people on our scientific advisory board. Two notable ones are we have the chief of orthopedic surgery of sports medicine surgery for Stanford University Hospitals. Another person we have on our SAB is the former chief of sports medicine at Hospital for Special Surgery and team doc for the New York Giants football team. and we have a very deep bench of very first-rate advisors and people who are visionaries in arthroscopy and sports medicine. And so this is something that, and again, this is another piece of what we have in place. That it's been something we've built up over time, and we've built up these relationships. But this is something, another piece of what we have available to a potential investor where we can grow and scale the business very quickly.
This is excellent. Ted, I'm going to, we'll be talking again shortly, but we're certainly going to want to follow up on this story and bring you on again in a few months and see how things are developing. But I'm already percolating with some ideas on some people that you should be speaking with when we can.
And I said we do have already people who are interested. So any interested parties, we've got the fundraising and so on. Like, we've got that piece of it already moving, and so it's something that if somebody wants to hop on board, I'd love to have them.
Great. Thank you very much, Ted. This has been really exciting, and we will get this up on the site and look forward to any discussions we can have initiated through this exposure. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Ted.
Okay, thanks.